Uh, thank you, Ms. Fasser. Want to welcome all the members to today's meeting, as well as any guests. Before we can begin, however, there is a notice, a legal notice that has to be read into the record. Sarah Richards is going to do that for us today. Sarah?
Thank you, and good morning, everyone. As a result of the ongoing public health emergency related to COVID-19, Executive Order 202.1, as extended, authorizes public boards to meet remotely and take authorized actions without permitting public in-person access to meetings. The public must have the ability to view or listen to the proceedings, and the meetings must be recorded and transcribed. An audio and video recording of today's meeting will be accessible from DASNY's website within 2 days, and today's proceedings will be transcribed and posted as soon as practicable under the circumstances. For additional information regarding the emergency declaration or the executive order, please see the DASNY website. And with that, I will take a roll of those who are present with us today. We have with us our board chair, Al Carney, vice chair, John Johnson. We have Beryl Snyder, Jerry Romsky, Joan Sullivan, John Gardner, Tracy Raleigh, Janice McKinney, Wellington Chen, and Phyllis Morris and Beryl Snyder. Also from DASNY joining us, we have our president, Ruben McDaniel, Paul Koopman, Caroline Griffin, Ricardo Salomon, Portia Lee, Kim Ellis, Michael Johnson, Steve Curro, Kathy Ebert, Jeff Arnold, Dina Amodio, Matt Bergen, Jeff Gordon, Deb Fasser, Diane Folletti, Karen Ellinger, and myself, Sarah Richards. And with that, I turn it back over to you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Sarah. As they say, spring has sprung. It's a beautiful day in Manhattan, and I'm looking forward to getting out into it. I want to welcome all of the board members, all staff, and any guests we may have sitting in the waiting room or on the phone. We'll go directly to the agenda. The first item is the transcript of the March 3rd meeting. And I will ask whether there are any comments or proposed revisions. Hearing none. May I have a motion, please, to approve it?
You got it, Al.
Thank you, Jerry. Is there a second?
Second it.
Does anyone object to the motion as I've presented it? Hearing no objections, the motion carries and the transcript is approved unanimously. We'll move to the second agenda item, which is the Finance Committee report. Mr. Romsky.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We met a couple of minutes ago. We adopted the meeting minutes from the March 3rd meeting of the Finance Committee. Then we welcomed our newest member, our colleague Janice McKinney. Then we advanced and adopted the charter for the Finance Committee meeting, and then we adjourned. So that concludes my report, unless any other of the board members have any questions or concerns. Otherwise, thank you very much.
Thank you, Jerry. Let me add my voice to your welcome to Janice McKinney on the occasion of her joining the Finance Committee. Janice, we look forward to working with you. With some luck, we won't work you too hard in the beginning. That's to lure you in, so that you'll think that it's easy work. By the time you figure that it's not, it'll be too late.
Oh, well, thank you for the warning, Al, and thank you again.
It's a pleasure to have you join the committee, Janice. Thank you for accepting the invitation. We're now going to move to the third agenda item, which is the Audit Committee report. Chairman Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Audit Committee met yesterday. We considered an amendment to the investment guidelines, which Kimberly Ellis is going to talk about as soon as I'm done. We also heard an internal controls report from Karen Ellinger and an internal audit report from Kathy Ebert. And we adopted the audit plan that has been proposed to the committee. And now I will turn it over to Kim to talk about this investment guidelines recommendation.
Thank you, John. For your consideration is a resolution to propose an update to Section 9 of the Investment Policy and Guidelines to allow for permitted investments to be purchased, sold, or presented for redemption by a secured electronic means. This is in response to an issue identified by internal audit during a recent audit of the investments unit and will align the guidelines with current practice. Electronic means will include secure electronic transmission via our trustee or custodian website using user ID, password, and authentication keys issued by the trustee or custodian bank. There are clear segregations of duties, which will require someone other than the initiator to approve transactions. Are there any questions?
None here. Do we have to, is there a resolution to pass this?
Yes,
Yes,
there
Mr. Chairman.
should be a resolution in your packet.
Thank you. I saw it and forgot that I saw it. You all have had a chance to see and read and review the resolution that is being proposed, in which this change is being proposed. Are there questions? Hearing none, may I have a motion, please, to approve the resolution?
Also move. This is Beryl.
Beryl, thank you very much. Second?
Second, Janice.
Janice, thank you very much. Are there any objections to the resolution as presented? The motion is made. Hearing none, are there any abstentions from the vote? Hearing none, then the motion is approved, as is the resolution. The investment guides are amended, and all of that has happened unanimously. Thank you all very much. John?
That concludes my report.
Okay. Then we're at item 4 on the agenda, the President's report. Thank you, John.
Great. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Good to see everyone this morning. I have a couple of quick updates that I want to give, and then we'll move into 3 items that need approval, including the budget, which is the most important thing we're doing today. First, we've been talking about 28 Liberty a lot. It is going to be open for business on Monday. We have our staff members in the New York City office scheduled to come in over the next 2 weeks to get their offices set up. We're doing that on a low density social distance place, but we'll have a couple of people in the office to help with boxes and those types of things. So we're very excited about getting in. We're continuing to be on our current schedule of remote working until at least May the 1st. But once we open the office on Monday at 28 Liberty, if people want to come in and utilize that office, then they will be free to do so as long as we all follow the guidelines. So very excited about that, and we should have good density in that office starting May, June timeframe. So very excited about that. We'll get everybody in and look forward to having the May board meeting partially in person at the 28 Liberty site. So very excited about that. The second thing I want to do is I want to ask Portia Lee to give a quick public finance update. But before she does that, we had a significant bond sale over the past month for the state, a $2 billion plus transaction for the state personal income tax. It came on a day that the market was not particularly cooperative, but Portia, Matt, and her team did a great job of managing through and getting a very good rate in a very difficult market for the state. So just appreciate all the work that the team did for that. A lot of times these transactions come and go very smoothly, but when you have a difficult market, this is when it shows how the team comes together, and they did a great job. So with that, Portia, can you give us just a quick update on the public finance market and activities?
Yeah, sure thing. Thank you so much, Ruben. And, just a little bit more color on the PIT transaction, as Ruben had indicated. So as you'll recall, this was a big PIT deal. There's actually $1.87 billion in tax exempt bonds and $291.6 million in taxable bonds. We priced this deal on March 17th and 18th, the 17th for retail and the 18th for institutional investors. The Fed had concluded its meeting on Wednesday, the 17th. As Ruben had indicated, the market was weakening. We ended the retail order period on the tax exempt bonds with good retail interest, about $469 million in orders, despite the weaker market that day. And then the next day into institutional pricing, despite the volatility, we got both the tax exempt and the taxable bonds done. And despite that volatility, we, as Ruben said, had a good outcome. The deal priced successfully, and we had an all-in rate of 2.64%. Just as far as the market is concerned, new issue supply totaled roughly 100.7 billion year to date. That's about 8% up compared to this time last year. This week, total supply is expected to be about 4.6 billion. Tax-exempt bond yields were higher on Tuesday. Both the 10-year and 30-year MMD yields increased by 2 basis points to a 1.12% and 1.75% respectively. U.S. government bond yields saw the 10-year Treasury remain at the same at a 1.73%, and the 30-year Treasury decreasing by 5 basis points to 2.38%. Municipal bond funds reported inflows for the week ending March 24th, after reporting inflows the previous week as well. Since the March 3rd board meeting, the 1-year MMD decreased 3 basis points, the 10-year decreased 3 basis points as well, and the 30-year decreased by 5 basis points. And also since the March 3rd board meeting, the 10-year and the 30-year Treasury have increased 31 and 17 basis points respectively. One thing that I want to note is included in your materials is a single approval pipeline report for Teachers College, which we expect to bring to the May meeting. Just a little history for some of the newer members to the board. For financings that are considered with a single approval, staff provides a pipeline report to give to the board, basically a heads up regarding the transaction. Oftentimes clients reach out and want to be placed on the next agenda, so there isn't time to provide this report. But if we do have advance notice, we do provide this report to the board. That concludes my report. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you, Portia. And again, great job on the financing. I know you got a lot coming up over the next couple of months. So yeah, we'll stay out of your way so you can do your good work. Second, I want to ask Steve Curl to give us an update on the construction. Certainly, springtime, we're starting to see more shovels in the ground, and that unit has been very active. So, Steve?
Thanks, Ruben. My update for this board meeting consists of 3 project updates. I'll start with the Javits Convention Center expansion project. The project continues to progress toward a targeted TAO date of May 3rd, 2021. We are now pretty deeply into the finish stage of the project. But that being said, there's a large volume of TAO related items that remain open with 5 weeks remaining in the project schedule. DASNY and our consultant staff remain fully engaged. We're visiting the site almost daily. We're performing testing and inspections critical to the TAO. And we are working in conjunction with the design build team to lock in FDNY inspection dates. Our code compliance staff is on site today. I'll be visiting tomorrow. And we do continue to work with the owner's rep on the project to resolve open issues. We meet with them weekly on Friday. As far as FIT goes, I visited the project last Thursday. Ongoing make-ready site work continues, as does interior work to the Feldman building. I walked the project site with our DASNY PM, Paul Conclavis, and our field rep, Orel Munoz. Legacy, who is our CM team, as well as FIT facility staff, joined us for that walkthrough. And we continue to aim for an end of year 2021 completion to the foundations at that project. I was also able to visit the Lehman College School of Nursing last week on Wednesday. This is a $90 million new build School of Nursing, 5-story building, I believe. Pile foundation work is started with over 200 piles needing to advance and be augured to support the building's superstructure. I toured the project last Wednesday with our DASNY PM, Chris West, as well as our construction manager, TDX. Foundation work at this project is also scheduled to complete by year end. Just a quick note on SUNY. I presented last week at the SUNY Residence Hall program, their virtual physical plant administrators association winter conference. While the Residence Hall program is overall generally inactive at this time, There are indications the campuses are intending to increase the number of in-person classes in the fall. And that would certainly help our cause and the residence hall program cause overall. But time will tell. We do know from recent bid results that this is an excellent time to bid and award projects, given the deep cuts in contractor bid pricing that we've experienced. And there is a huge increase in competition. There's a number of contractors showing interest in the projects that we bid and are submitting bids. Bid pricing today is typically coming in at 10 to 30% below our construction estimates. And the number of bidders, really depending on the scope of the project, can easily exceed 10. That's a big difference from just a year ago. Lastly, on the New York State budget front, DASNY has learned that the legislature has restored the $750 million funding appropriation for the new New York State DOH Life Sciences Lab project. Of course, this news is subject to final budget negotiations, which are ongoing today. This concludes my report. I'll take any questions.
Steve, it's Al.
Good, Al.
What happens when, I just don't know the processes here. What happens when you have an estimated cost and all the bids come in under that cost? Does that, what do we do with it?
We do a big happy dance.
I was going to say, you do some high fives over there, right?
Yeah, that's
because I don't know what Steve's talking about, but I don't see that anyway.
I can tell you over my 20 years of doing this here at DASNY, there has never been a time like today. Typically, we're at estimate or above it with our bid pricing. So when the bids actually come in under the estimate, we're all really happy. And of course, the customer agency knows they have a project that they can progress and maybe even throw in some extras along the way. So it's really good news.
That is good news. Okay, just curious. Thank you.
Yep. This is John Johnson. Just do you see this as an ongoing change in this market, or is this just a very temporal situation?
From my perspective, everything's cyclical. It'll be a matter of time before those bids are coming in above our estimates again.
So at what point do we start anticipating that with our estimates and start estimating jobs lower than the market to meet the market?
I'll tell you, estimating is quite the science. And we've really battled with our estimators throughout the years. They're always lagging with what's really going on in the marketplace.
Right.
So we're trying to look at their estimates today, know that the bid pricing is going to come in a bit lower. I can tell you that before we actually award, recently, our construction contracts chief, Aaron Butler, and I have gotten the low bid contractors on the phone or in a Teams meeting and said, can you really do this project for this price? Are you sure? Because it is quite extreme. But John, to your point, we have talked to our estimators. We have an in-house estimator that takes a look at the construction estimates before the projects go to bid. The contractors are telling us they're just trying to keep their people employed. I mean, they're taking these projects at cost right now, which makes me wonder how great the profit margins were just a year ago. So.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Steve.
And it points out,
George.
John, the importance of bonding on these jobs, because you really never know what's going to happen by the time these jobs get well underway. But anyway, my 2 cents unsolicited. I'll go back to mute. Sorry.
So thanks very much for the questions and comments. Steve always looks cool as a cucumber, but I can tell you that Javits Center project is not simple, and there's a lot of pressure to get it complete. It's one of the areas where the governor, others would like to get that open as soon as possible, particularly for some of the outdoor space there. So great work on that. My final update before we move into our budget resolution is on the grant side. We have, over the past, actually before I got here, been struggling with how to get a good grants database that is easily searchable and really helps that process become less paper driven. And so I guess probably 3 or 4 months ago, we have 2 of our employees who have started working on a database development internally. And I've been meeting with them on a weekly basis. I'm very excited about that project. But yesterday they presented it to the grants team in draft form. And I'm going to ask Sarah Richards to give us an update on how she saw the project and where we are with that. Sarah?
Sure, thank you. I think you all know that as part of my responsibilities, I oversee the grants administration unit. And as Ruben mentioned, we have been searching for some time to try to find a system to meet our needs, the needs of our state partners, and the needs of our grantees. We're currently operating off a very old platform that our IS department keeps going for us, and it's worked well for the past years. But as technology has evolved, we really need something to evolve along with it. So I'm very fortunate in our unit to have Chad Piro, who's an assistant director of grants, who is very technologically savvy, very smart, knows the ins and outs of, the IS systems, the grants programs, and the state budget system as well. So he has been working very hard with Will Golden of our IS department on a Microsoft Power Platform system that will enable the grantees to enter the information we collect electronically. It will enhance our ability to search for grantees, for projects by address, a lot of flexibility by different parameters than what we can search now. We will have reporting capabilities, and it'll also allow us to track communication with the grantees right in the same system. Now we have a database which is linked to a call center that we developed. And then that information is exported to various reports in Excel. So having this system basically do everything together is really exciting for the unit, and it'll be a big step forward for the grantees and for our state partners. It really looks good. And they've imported things even like Google Earth, so you could get a view of where the project is located. In case there are any questions and address sounds strange or isn't quite right, we'll have the ability to look for that. So it's really an exciting development. We've found as we've searched for different software programs in the past, there are none that really meet our needs in terms of what the state expects of us in terms of reporting, our own requirements to make sure we're doing everything right on our processing side, and basically that allow us to get the job done in a timely fashion. So we're really excited about it and appreciate Ruben and Caroline and Paul's support for this venture. It's really going to be successful, and I'm excited about it.
Sarah, it's Al. Because the system permits external contact with the internal process, do you have security concerns? Do you all generate cybersecurity concerns?
Well, we do work closely with IS on the security front, but it will not be a system that allows the public to have access to it. It will be, the grantees will have the ability to complete the documentation electronically for us, but outside parties will not be able to access it.
So the grantees may access it, and if there is a concern with an external touch, that's it. There are no other concerns.
Correct. That's right. That's right.
That's correct, Mr. Chairman. And our team has done a great job on the various security requirements, passwords, authentication type software and those things. So they're definitely keeping that in mind as they work through this. As it stands now, our anticipation is the grantees will be able to upload things to the system, but will not be able to actively interact with the system. So they'll upload their documents. There are really interesting and I think intuitive step processes for different types of grants. So we can check off the box as the information comes in, as they're being processed, as the information goes out. And having Chad and Will work side by side, someone who really knows grants and someone who really knows IT, I think we really have the best of both worlds in this program. It is very specific to DASNY, the DASNY process. And in the demonstration, you can see how that influence of Chad has really made the process that, you know, if someone want to talk through it, you could click through it. It's very, very user friendly and intuitive. So I'm very excited about this project. I think it's a good step for DASNY. One of the many ways we hope to eliminate paper from our processes as we move forward and take advantage of some of the pandemic changes that we've made. So I'm very excited about this one. Any other questions for Sarah?
Sarah, Ruben, thank you both.
Thank you.
Now let's turn to the budget. We have several resolutions we'll need to pass, but first I want to give a quick update on the state budget, and then I'll let Ms. Ellis present the DASNY budget for approval. So the 21-22 state budget is close to enactment. The negotiations are ongoing, as you can imagine, but it is anticipated that they will pass the budget by the 1st. So they're working very hard on that, and our board member Adrian is not here today for obvious reasons, working hard on getting that through. Clearly, the federal passage of the American Rescue Plan has provided much needed assistance to New York. So we're very pleased that some of the draconian cuts that may have been necessary had we not gotten federal assistance as a state will not be necessary. However, it's certainly not a time for cushy budgets. So there's some hard decisions being made, but we anticipate that we'll be in better shape as a state than we would have been had this rescue plan not been passed. As far as specific proposals to DASNY, in the budget, we expect that they will extend our design construction contract with DEC and Parks for an additional 2 years, that authorization. The increase in the MICFA bond cap will not be in the budget. However, we expect that it will be addressed in post-budget legislation. So we feel pretty good about that being expanded for nursing homes and hospitals. We are less optimistic about the passage of the increased authorization. During this budget period, things have been so stressful, it's been hard to kind of get that negotiation through. We'll continue to have those conversations, and several folks on the Assembly and Senate side have been helpful, but we'll probably work on that for next session, not this session. We'll continue to monitor the progress of the budget and let you know as things change, but we feel pretty good about where overall the state is, and I think that will bode well for DASNY going forward. I think we also are feeling better that while 21-22 may be a difficult year for all state agencies, including DASNY, as we come out of the pandemic, that with the rescue plan and with the economic recovery moving at a faster pace than anticipated, that the 22-23 will be a pretty good year. So with that, I'm going to turn to Kim Ellis to present the DASNY budget, and then we can vote on the budget resolution and the 2 other resolutions. Kim?
Thank you, Ruben. For your consideration is a resolution to adopt the 21-22 budget as presented. There's been no adjustment since our last meeting, and it anticipates 478 FTEs, a total budget amount of $113,641,245, which represents a 3% decrease from last year's budget, with an internal operating budget of $84,924,884, representing a 5.2% decrease from last year's adopted budget. Are there any questions with regards to the budget?
Hearing no questions, one comment before I ask for a vote. I think, Kimberly, that you've done a terrific job this year of getting the nuts and bolts of this budget to the board members, with plenty of time for the board members to consider, to ask questions, to dig deep if they chose to do so. You and your group are to be commended. This has been a very, very difficult year. And I think you've done just a terrific job of getting the information out there for this board to consider. Kim has asked for questions. Are there any? I assume this is the appropriate moment to call for a vote on the resolution to adopt the budget. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Thank you, Wellington. Is there a second?
I'll second. It's Beryl.
Beryl, thank you very much. Are there any objections to the resolution as presented? You've all had a chance to read it. Hearing none, are there any abstentions from the vote? Hearing none, the motion carries, and it carries unanimously. The budget is approved. Thank you all
Thank you,
very
Mr.
much.
Chairman. Thank you, Board. It's very important for us, obviously, and we always like to meet our legislative mandates. The second resolution is on the fee structure. Again, this is an annual activity. Kim, back to you.
Yes, in your packet is a resolution for the fee structure. We are not recommending any changes from the existing structure, so it's just a resolution to pass as is that we do on an annual basis.
Thank you, Kim. Are there any questions for Kimberly on the fee structure and the resolution that would on which we will act? Hearing none, may I have a motion, please, to approve the resolution?
It's Joan. I make a motion to approve the resolution.
Joan, thank you very much. Is there a second?
Seconded.
Wellington, thank you very much. Are there any objections to the resolution as presented? Are there any abstentions from this vote? Hearing none, the resolution passes and the fee structure underlying it is approved. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We appreciate that. And then the final resolution is on our investment management software system. We've talked about this in the past, that our current system is sunsetting at the end of this calendar year. And so Kim and her team did an extensive procurement, identified a contractor that we felt met our needs. I want to compliment all the team, Kim Ellis, Ricardo and his group on the general counsel side, on really negotiating and hard negotiations to getting a contract that works for all of us. It is an extensive contract. It's not simple. And transitioning to a new software for investment management will be a difficult task. We want to get this underway as soon as possible. This does rise to the level where we need a board approval. I'll turn it back over to Kim Ellis for a presentation on the investment management software.
Thank you, Ruben. Presented for your consideration is a resolution to allow DASNY enter into a contract with Clearwater. They will be implementing a cloud-based investment management system. It's a SaaS solution, which is a subscription-based model that is hosted in-house by the provider. As outlined in my memo, our current system is reaching the end of life and sunsetting at the end of this year. The contract is for a term of 3 years with an option to renew annually or such other term by mutual agreement of both parties. The cost in year one will be capped at $125,000. The fees are paid monthly based on an assets under management model. So I provided estimates for years 2 and 3 based on the highest we've seen the portfolio grow in the past 5 years. Are there any questions?
This is Kimberly Ellis Day.
Yeah, I'm asking for a lot today.
Clearly, but it's also a day, Kim, when I think it makes sense to say that once again, you've done a terrific job on some of the densest material I think I've ever seen. I read through this as you already know, and it is an extraordinary piece of contracting work. There are nuances here that I saw, and I'm sure nuances I didn't see at all. But you and Ricardo and his team, the lawyers who worked on this, are to be congratulated. This had to have been a very difficult piece of work. And Ricardo, you too are to be congratulated on leading a team that got this done. So, given that there are no questions, I will call for.
I have one. I hate to say this, okay, but I'm going to say it just for the record.
Sure.
I see that their headquarters is in Idaho. And one of the leading criminals in the last few years have created our state government all kinds of trouble, lives in Idaho now. I assume that Todd Howe doesn't have anything to do with this outfit.
I'm not familiar with that name.
Or Google it sometime and you'll become very familiar, or ask Carolyn about it. He allegedly is a groundskeeper at a golf course out there, but he is a world-class operator. So I just wanted to be satisfied that his hand is not in this in some sales fashion.
I think it's fair to say, John, that as far as anybody knows, Todd Howe is not involved with this agreement at all.
Good.
But if you're asking whether we might check to see.
No, I'm not asking for that an investigation or anything like that. I just want to put the name on the table. So if it rings a bell in conversation with the authorities, somebody will know that we might have an issue.
And you've put it in the record. Thank you very much for that. So at least we will have done whatever diligence we can do.
Right. I mean, you know, the thing is comprehensive. I can't imagine how difficult it was to get to this point, because it's impossible for most people to even understand it. So I just raised that sort of newspaper type question. That's the kind of question newspaper reporters ask.
I appreciate it. I was just going to say, clearly a reporter's kind of question. We will assume for the moment that we're clear. And if there's ever any reason to think otherwise, John, you'll be the first outside of staff to hear it.
Thank you.
All right. Are there other questions? Hearing none, may I have a motion, please, to approve the resolution, which if passed will approve this contract?
So moved.
Thank you, Wellington. Is there a second?
I will second it. I'll second it.
Thank you, Beryl. Were you on mute? Was that your delay was a mute delay? Thank you.
Yes.
Are there any objections to the resolution as proposed? Are there any abstentions from the vote? There being none, then the resolution is approved. Thank you very much for the motion, Wellington. And the investment management software system agreement as it is presented is approved unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, board. We appreciate that. Again, a lot of good work went into that, and we look forward to getting that system up and running by year's end. The only last piece of business I have, just to put in the record, we will have our May board meeting on May the 5th. Some of us will be at the 28 Liberty site for that meeting, although it will be considered a virtual meeting for legal purposes. So those of you who can't make it to New York for whatever reason, we will still do it via Zoom, but some people will be in the board meeting. And then we'll have a special call meeting on May the 19th to consider 2 financings that need to be approved prior to our June meeting, but will not be available in time for our May meeting. And the finance staff and myself really appreciate board members being available for that meeting. We'll try to make it as succinct as possible. With that, Mr. Chairman, that is my president's report.
May I ask one other question? What is the current state policy on vaccination requirements for people who are in the workplace? Is it a condition of employment, or is it still employee option?
Yeah, right now, Mr. Johnson, all vaccinations are optional. There are no requirements that people be vaccinated to work in the, come to work in the building, granted those things. So we've not gotten any guidance about mandating vaccines. Clearly, as of today, most of us, well, actually all of us on this phone are been eligible, but most people in New York are eligible, and we're certainly encouraging people to get vaccinated. However, with HIPAA and other things, we don't ask people if they've been vaccinated, but it's one of those things people celebrate and tend to let you know if they've been vaccinated. So we're monitoring it, but we are to follow the state guidance, and there's been no guidelines so far mandating vaccines to come into the office.
Thank you.
Sir.
Thanks, John. Before we sign off, we're going to be in the office if we choose to be on the 5th of May. Am I correct about that?
Yes, sir.
Which is the next scheduled meeting.
That's correct.
Terrific. Then for anyone who is coming from upstate or uptown, even, if you have a chance, take the time to walk through Moynihan Station. It is absolutely magnificent. You owe it to yourself to see that. That's my only comment. Is there any other business to come before this board? Hearing none, may I have a motion, please, to adjourn the meeting?
I'll move. This is Beryl.
Beryl, thank you. Is there a second, please?
Second it.
Thank you, Wellington. Are there any objections to closing the meeting?
I've been
There any-
enjoying the meeting. I'd like it to go on for a while, but no.
Okay, John, we'll do it your way. How's that?
Mhm.
Uh, There being no abstentions and no objections, then the motion will carry unanimously. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you all very much for coming. See you
Thank you all.
on the